Morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Bread for Soul Convos with myself, Sir LSG. And thank you for joining me this morning. And secondly, this show, I just want to really emphasize the importance of having something like this, especially from my side. For me, it's such an important thing to share knowledge and experiences with anyone really who's willing to learn, who wants to know how to go about this thing of the music industry, and some of the things that I've seen like developing throughout the years, especially more recent in recent years, is that we've seen the element of live performance and live production performance taking place. Which has become an addition to the DJing space. So people like Mark de Clive Lowe have been doing it, Kuniyuki Takahashi has been doing it, but also more electronically, people like Hendrik Schwartz has been doing it, putting that live element of performance into DJing, and it's such a dope thing to see happening. One of the people who has been taking on this thing is the brother I have on the show today, and that is NINI Maluk's. Welcome to the show, bro. How are you?
I'm good, and you? Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming through and for sharing your time. I just wanna know, man, like what you do, especially from for the electronic music performance thing. It's such a big thing, like it is such a big thing. But another part of your like for you to be able to do that, I can assume there's a lot of practice, there's a lot of working on yourself that needs to take place. So I want to ask you, you started producing at the age of 12. I read somewhere and I'm like, hey, 12, how? And how did you start? And how did you learn how to play an instrument?
um, it started actually. I started when I was 12. That's when I started writing. I would write verses. During that time, I couldn't write proper English, so I used to write everything in Chitsonga, which was interesting. And at when I was 14, just around 14, I came back from home. I came back from school, got home. I found a keyboard in my room. See, so I'm like, whose keyboard is this? Went to my mother's room. I asked her, whose keyboard is this? She was like, your brother's friend left his keyboard here, and they will fetch it. They said they will fetch it late. So I went back to the room. I checked the keyboard. It was a Casio keyboard, very simple keyboard. But I saw one thing that I've always seen on my friend's keyboard. It was a red button. Then I knew, okay, there's something here. I can record here. Fiddled with the keyboard. I tried to remember the key that I could remember, the chord I could remember was C major, because I've seen a lot of my friends holding it. So I fiddled with the keyboard, then I realized, okay, this is how I can record, but it only had about, I would say, maybe 6 MIDI channels. It was a tiny keyboard. So I fiddled with it. Eventually, I managed to put a bit together, and then I started fiddling with the bass, and just from what I've seen from my friends, because I used to watch my friends play. I used to go whenever they play. I would go there. I didn't have access to. I didn't have. I didn't have the means to own these gadgets. When I was at that age. But yeah, I fiddled with it. I had a tape recorder because I could not save on the keyboard. As soon as I finished, the songs were about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long. But there was some arrangement. It was there, but the keyboard did not have fancy things like quantizing. So obviously, it was all over the show. But for a 14-year-old who just learned how to use the keyboard, I thought, wow, okay, I'm going. I put the first song on the tape, second song on the tape, By the time they fetched the keyboard around 8, 9-ish, I'd done 4 songs. And I carried those tapes with me to varsity. And I have to find them because when I was moving around, but in varsity, I had those tapes. And in Guyana, I mean, I went around playing the tapes. They were not that good, but it was my work.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, no, 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 no. There's something here. There's something here because this guy has left the keyboard for a few hours and now I've made a song. So now I've made songs. So now I went to a friend of mine who had access to keyboards. They used to play at church, so they would take the keyboards home. Said, bruh, this is me. Help me. I need to make 5 songs in the next whatever weeks. And then he would sit down with me. We would put down ideas. The entire studio was a Technics keyboard back then. So we carried the whole studio, the whole keyboard, to a friend who had a big sound system. He was a DJ around. And then we would put everything on tapes, and then just to make sure it's good quality. And I would go around playing them and performing the tracks. And so yeah, that's when it started. And from there, I knew, okay, I need to do something here.
Yeah.
But obviously, my background was school is important, so don't forget. So I was told straight, don't forget. So that's another thing. I think that's another reason my mother never bought me a keyboard. She knew, I know, there's going to be a problem here. So yeah.
And that's an important thing that I want to ask you about because you hold strong views about education and self-development in that sense. And like we all should, but I want to ask you, for someone who loved music and you could see that, I could actually do this. It's something that I love, and you had your own choir days, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I want to get into this thing, education, because you studied chemical engineering at UCT. Like I studied engineering, did not work out. 2 years, I knew, okay, this thing is not working out. Not that I even had a choice. I didn't actually have a choice, like I failed terribly in my second year, got academic exclusion, and then that was it for me. My engineering career ended right there. But you finished your BSc, you finished your master's. Why didn't you initially pursue formal education in music? And why do you hold education, just in general, why do you hold education in such high regard?
I'll start by answering your last question. Why I hold education in why I prioritize it. Even when people on my timeline, when they share posts about graduation, about finishing a degree, I always comment and congratulate them. The reason is I believe it's because of what education has done in my case. It sharpened my thinking. It introduced me to the critical world where you need to be critical about think about things, think critically and absorb things and learn to do things in a way that it adds more value. Learn to add value. So that's what education has done in my case, especially when it comes to how I approach things, how I think. My methodology in life, applying different techniques. So it has taught me that, and I believe whatever field you're in, it's good to get some education, educate yourself, read. If you're fortunate enough to do it formally, where you can get a degree or diploma, go ahead and do it if you have the funds, if you have the resources to do it. So I'm for education because it has a way of sharpening our minds, of building our character, of opening doors for us, and so I admire people who wish to get education, and I admire those who have education, and not everyone has because of different circumstances, but I think it's a great thing to have. So I didn't pursue that because I wanted to. You see, I wanted to, but in my family, especially in my backgrounds, art is not seen as something that can really, um, you know, the way you can make a living out of. Especially when you're young, your parents are scared that you're not going to be able to formalize it. You might trip along the way. You get carried along. So I didn't pursue it, but at the same time, I I had this strong desire to do chemical engineering. For some reason, I had a strong desire to do chemical engineering. I wanted to challenge myself, and it did challenge me a lot. Because, man, at UCT, chemical engineering is, yo, I know, it's difficult. It's difficult, bro. That thing is difficult. It's very difficult. But I wanted to challenge myself, and I think it did challenge me. And there was also that part where I wanted to prove to myself that I can go out and do something that is difficult and try and strive to achieve.
Mm.
And also I wanted something that I felt it's a bit more solid. It's going to help me in the future, and it's going to help me to pursue other dreams as well. So that was also another reason why I managed to study, and it was tough. I'll be honest, it was not easy. It was difficult. We slept in the labs. Sometimes I'd forget about my keyboards. I'd forget about, but one thing I always did was DJing, because that's when I started my DJing career.
Yeah.
Twice a week, I used to buy vinyl. I would buy vinyl twice a week. I knew Tuesday I would get a call from DJ Syndicate. We've got stock. They rip the boxes open. I'm there. I choose what I want. Thursdays, I was there because that's when they used to receive new stock. I did not stop. And I even bought my own turntables. I would practice, finish studying, practice. And then, studying, it gave me opportunities. DJing gave me opportunities, because that's also when I started my radio career, at UCT Radio. So those open. At the same time, I knew I want to finish the degree. I need to finish this thing. I'm that guy who I always want to finish what I've started. And not just for the sake of finishing. It must be done properly. I always strive to make sure it's how I imagine, or it's close to my imagination. I thought finishing the degree was a great thing. At the same time, not leaving things behind in terms of music. Yes, there was a time when I was not very active, and moving to Joburg, I had to rebrand myself. You see, it was a new place. It was new to me, because I've been doing this. I've been DJing in Cape Town for a long time. So moving to Joburg, I had to rebrand myself, redesign things in my music career and all that. So yeah.
Man, and for me, I think finishing any degree is such an important thing, and it's so
Exactly.
nothing comes easy. Like studying on its own is such
Yeah.
it's a task on its own. And I've grown to learn that I'm not. For me, it's like we all need to be doing everything that we can do to make ourselves
Yeah.
better. And it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
formal education, in a sense,
No.
because another thing is that as people, we've grown to become this, to think that everybody's adaptable to every situation. So meaning that if you do formal education, and I believe that no, let me also do formal education. Some people don't even have the neck to read 2 pages,
Yeah.
of
Yes.
text, and that's the reality. But there's other forms of learning which I believe, like,
Yes.
our government needs to kind of find ways of implementing these new ways of learning for other people, so that we are not all trained the same way, as we
Yeah.
are not receiving information the same way. But the thing that I wanted to get to with regards to your job, as a chemical engineer, is the balance of music and work. What I realized is that
Yeah.
I've been working, TV, even though it was entertainment, but to be working at and pursue music at the same time is not an easy thing to do, especially if you want to
Yeah.
move quicker. You'll realize one will suffer at some point, whether it's the music or your work, like, or you can have a balance and nothing becomes special. I don't know if that makes sense. So nothing becomes extraordinary. So you can have like a strong
Yes.
balance where you are good at your job,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or you are good at music, but you are not exceptional at music, and you might not even be exceptional at your job, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I want to ask you
Yeah.
about that, like, and how do you balance, because moving to Joburg, you are still an engineer for a big company. How did you balance that with music creation, and were there any difficulties with
Um,
that balance for you?
yes, lots of difficulties. Because as a producer, as a musician, and as someone who's constantly learning, I'm constantly learning things, and who wants to learn more, and who wants to connect more with people, who wants to share what I want to share what I'm doing with people. I When you're working, you don't always have that time, because during the day the time is not yours, if I may put it that way.
Yeah.
The time is not yours. You have to dedicate that time to someone else, because that person is paying you. You're getting paid to. So you still need to show dedication. You still need to show commitment, because I don't believe in just going, be lazy, but you still get paid. I don't believe in those things. I believe when it's time to work, you earn what you deserve. So that time, that time is gone. So you wake up in the morning, I know that time is gone. So at the same time, there is also other things in life that you're learning. There are skills that you pick up, communication skills that you can use anywhere else. Writing skills, when you're doing proposals, even in music we do proposals. Just how to work in teams, how to network, and how to introduce yourself, which is also like a skill on itself. People struggle with that, just to introduce yourself properly so that you can get the attention that you need. And so it's not easy juggling between the two, because you're at work, an idea drops. What do? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
An idea drops. It's like, oh, goodness. So the only thing I had at work is my phone.
Yeah.
The idea drops. It's my phone. I close the door wherever. If I'm in the office, I close the door. Hopefully, when I get home, I'll hear clearly and I can recreate something.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So and coming back home, you're tired. Sometimes I'm tired. I'll be tired. I get home, but one thing I knew. I'm so fortunate to have a very supportive wife. She's a musician as well. She's a pianist. She's a vocalist. She's a writer. She's got her own career in law as well. You see what I mean? So she understands that it takes a lot of time to actually get things done, especially when it comes to music. This guy is working. This guy wants to achieve something. He wants to achieve. He wants to be. He wants to deliver at work, and he wants to deliver this side and achieve something. So you get home, you're tired. But one thing, I still manage to find time to go to the studio. I would find time, go to the studio, because if you don't go, that's where now one leg is lagging behind. You see, so you're dragging one leg forward, the other one is lagging behind. How do you balance? You're not meant to walk like that.
True.
Legs are meant to exchange properly when you're walking. So if you leave one leg behind, the other leg is going to struggle.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You're not going to move forward. So I always made time to go to the studio. And another thing is, I always made time to talk about music. Don't talk about music. You need to talk about it. Talk to people about it. make time to go to events, connect with people, see what people are doing, see what people are listening to,
Mm.
and it helps to create your signature sound in a
Mm.
way.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not easy, but it's about finding time to do both of them without making one suffer. Yes,
Yeah.
at some point one might suffer because you've got there's more work on the other side, and the
Yes.
other one in the following month might suffer a little bit because there's more work on the other side.
Yeah.
It happens, but at the end, you see the balance. It's
Yeah.
always like this.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
scale is always moving like this. So it balances at the end. So
Mm.
so yeah, it's not always easy. And I would say for those who have jobs, do your work, when it's time to work.
Mm.
You benefit. It gives you resources to build other dreams.
Mm.
It's a hustle on itself to have a day job. Don't let people say otherwise. So I think it's also a blessing to have work and to also have other skills that you can build, and that work and whatever resources you get from the work you're doing can feed into building something else.
Mm.
So that, especially something that you're passionate about. That
Yes.
So yeah,
That is a powerful thing to mention too, because for me it's like I knew that at the end of the month, ne, if I had no gigs while I was working full time, because I stopped working full time 2 years ago, but while I was
yeah,
working full time,
yeah,
I knew that at the end of the month my bills would be covered. So I don't have stress of
yes,
paying a car, my house, or my child's school
mm,
fees. Um, so
yeah,
when I'm creating music, when I come back from work, I would create music purely for the love of it. Like there would be
yes,
zero financial stress towards my creation of music. So I'm not
mm,
pressured to release anything. Like I'll release when it's done. If it's not ready,
mm,
it's not coming
yeah,
out. And it gives you that comfortability, even though you need to be aware that if you are working, your time will be shared. Your time has to be shared. So you can't be comparing yourself to somebody who's only a musician, who's releasing
yeah,
6 EPs a year, something like that, and an
yeah,
album on top of that.
mm,
You cannot compare yourself because the time is not the same. So I think just to close this issue, it's more about what works for you. If you think
exactly.
if you're at work and you can do music and that works for you, do that. But if you feel like you need to do only music, do that, but you also need to be responsible enough to know the consequences of doing only music or only work or
Yeah.
both of them. I think we can have it at that we all need to be responsible enough of the outcomes
Yes.
of what we do or our decisions. Another thing that I wanted to make
So
is that
I think just to on those one, just before we close off on this one, what you're saying is key. Diversify wherever you can. Diversify wherever you can. Don't limit yourself to one set of skills because they are transferable.
mm,
You can transfer them from one industry to the other.
mm,
So don't limit yourself. They are so transferable. It's once you start doing it, it is shocking how what you can achieve and what you can build in your brain.
mm,
You know,
mm,
so they are transferable. Always remember that. Don't even if you're doing just music, think of other things that can actually bring also revenue. You know, other skills that you have. Think of other skills that you have. We live in a digital world. Who can you team up with to actually bring out something that can support what you're doing, or
mm,
even if they run in parallel. So my point here is find a way to diversify, use your skills across.
mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man, definitely. And another thing, just lastly, I know I talk a lot, but just lastly, I want to make this point. Time is very important.
Mm,
Sometimes we complain
yeah.
that we don't have time, but we sit for 4 hours on our mobiles a day or even
Mm,
more. Like there's so much time that can be squeezed into everything. You can come back from a job and have an hour rest and then come back and
mm,
do and learn something about music. Spend an hour here, spend
yeah.
an hour there. I think it's more
Mm,
important how we manage our time more than complaining that, man, I can only do one thing. We can all do more than one thing if we really look at the time that we have and the time that we spend. on our phones. That's the most
Very
wasted
true.
time. And especially,
Very true.
I don't mind spending a lot of time on the phone. It's what you spend time doing on your phone. Are you looking at
Yeah.
learning stuff? Are you teaching yourself new skills? Are you watching interviews that are inspiring you? Or are you just
Mm.
scrolling through this bottomless, endless thread of Facebook, or whatever? Because that can be a thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've
Yeah.
seen you.
Mm.
I want to get into music production. I've seen you taking trips, to Cape Town and just to record with musicians.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I shared a similar process of wanting to include other people within my music creation.
Mm.
What is your process with regards to creating music?
Uh, my process is, um, I I always try the first thing that, okay, it's something that now I think it has become a part of my methodology. It's very difficult to take it out. Is when it comes to to writing a song, what is it do I want to put first? One, do I want to put my music composing skills first, or do I want to just lay down things and then come compose later? Because I believe there is a structure, there is a song.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
a structure is where you lay down ideas.
mm,
A song is when those ideas have got flesh, they've got meat around, they've got, they are built, So there is a beat, there is a song.
mm,
So I always make sure that by the time I finish, I try and have what to me sounds like a song. Sounds like a song. So I I I I always try and show that I have the ability to compose music, which means it must be musical. Whatever I do must be musical. And also I always try try I try a lot of new things. I try a lot of new things when I'm working in the studio. I don't have I don't always have a one way of approaching a song, although I know the end result is what must sound like a song to me. I must sing along. I must remember it. It must remind me of something that happened in the studio or wherever. Sometimes I sit in front of my grand piano in my lounge. I play. I play until something that is repetitive comes. Then I know, okay, I must run to the studio now, or I must play this thing over and over on this piano so that it stays in my head. So that when I go back to the studio, I remember this thing, because especially if I like the chords, So sometimes I'll just be composing music outside of the studio. See, and sitting in the lounge doing that helps me, because acoustically I feel it first. Before I turn it into an electronic version of the idea becomes turned into an electronic version, So I feel it acoustically. I don't always do that, but there's a lot of songs recently that I'm packaging that I've done on my grand piano. Just sitting there, and something drops. I like these chords, and combine these chords. It's either I take my phone or record, but the best way for me, like I've said, is just to play it over and over and over and over, because I know, okay, I can play my song. You see, if I can play my song, that for me is also the best thing. So come to the studio, I experiment a lot. Another thing that I do, I dedicate time to do sound design. So what I do is, I'm not composing, I'm not writing a song, I'm designing the sound so that the sounds that I would like to use, you see. So I'll design my kicks, my snares. I'll combine some synth, and so I do a lot of sound design, and some of these sound I'm using them during my performance, because I want it to sound like me. I want it to sound like this is how I want it to sound when I'm performing. So I transfer them to my performance, rig. I know these kicks. I love these kicks. I play these kicks. They sound solid. I've designed them. It's a combination of It's a combination of 5 different kicks that sound different. Some of them. So I'll put, for example, let's say 4 kicks. Put them at different time signatures. You see? Put them at different time signatures, filter them differently, balance them differently until it comes out as a kick that, oh, okay, I love this kick. It hits. Go to another sound, move to another sound, and then put together the sound. And then I start composing, knowing that I'm using the sound samples that I like. I'm combining them with other sound samples that comes with with the synths and whatever I have, So I experiment a lot when I'm in the studio, and I don't overwork myself in the studio. I don't overwork myself. I try to take breaks, which is important because it refreshes my mind. And also another thing that is important is working with other people. For me, that just hits. It just opened that can of ideas.
Yeah.
It's like opens it. It opens that can, and I can throw out ideas quickly when I'm working with other people. Obviously, there are times when I need to build my ideas so that when people come, they can see it. There is a structure, there is a song. I'm not saying, oh, do things for me. I'm saying I have composed a song. I would like it to be a part of this composition. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I do in the studio. Obviously, my live performance has also added a lot of value to my production because sometimes I remember what I've done. Sometimes I remember, I don't record, but sometimes I remember what I've done. I'm like, there was something I did, and I saw 3, 4, 5 people in front of me. They went crazy. Now I must remember that thing. Okay, this is what I did. This one. Then I'll try and rebuild it in the studio. You see, there are songs that are on my current catalog that came from my performances. No. I was performing. I saw there were 5, 6 people right in front of me. They were going crazy. That means that thing. I must make it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I experiment a lot.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about your live performances, because what you do is that you create songs on the go. So
Yeah.
during your gig, if me as a DJ, I would be selecting a song to play, you have to
Yes.
create almost every element of that song on the spot, starting with the drums, getting on the keys, playing the bass. And when people receive it like that, I think the visual element of it, but people can see that this guy is actually making music on the go, like at the club.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful thing that you do. And I have to ask you though, do you ever find yourself having lack of inspiration during a gig, or the ideas are not coming out as fresh?
I think there's one gig I remember. I got stiff mentally. Because here's the thing with these live performances, physically I must be okay. Mentally I must be okay. Technically I must be okay because it involves a lot of technical. It's technical. The integration, how softwares are running, moving between different equipment, between different samplers and all that. So yes, I remember there was one gig where I felt stiff, but then I realized it was the nature of the gig. When at the gig you misplaced. You misplaced completely. You can tell the people here won't understand what I'm doing. I could sense that. Yes, there's a lot of people who came on stage when I was playing to say, wow, you make good music. And that made me feel better. Because they didn't say you play good music. They said you make good music. I'm like, that means you can see that I'm actually performing something here. So there are times when you feel, I felt stiff, but it hardly happens because, oh man, when anxiety kicks in, you know how it is. Anxiety kicks in. It does something to me that And it's something that I don't think I'll be able to deal with. I can't take it away. Anxiety. Even when I was a DJ, shortly before my set, I'll get this goosebumps, and it now it's worse because when I'm standing there, I have to think about one, how do I start? Because I don't have a song.
Yeah.
You see, I don't have a song. How do I start? So usually 15, 20 minutes before I play, I don't talk. I'm quiet because I want to drop my anxiety, and I want to be able to figure out how do I. Sometimes I plan out how to start while reading the crowd 15 minutes before, but when I get there, it's something different because the inspiration is now different. There's someone now saying something in front of me, or someone tapping my back, or someone, or I see people rushing closer. That changes my inspiration. That says to me, there's an expectation. Just relax and deliver. I remember when I did my first big gig as a live performer. I played before Vini. And I said to Vini, hey Vini, look at these people are now close because they can see something, there's a different setup here.
Was it
how do you think I should start? At Taung.
Yeah.
How do you think I should start? Vini was like, just do what you want to do. Don't forget about do what you want to do. And that for me reminded me, do what you're there to do. You see? And I started playing, after 2 minutes, after I put the song together, the first song together, Nation jumped on stage. He gave me a hug. That cemented, like, no. The host is happy. The host is seeing something. Just do what you do. Do it. You see? And I saw people responding. You know, when people respond, it also gives you more inspiration. But when you know that when you go to a place and people are stiff, you become stiff as well. Even if as a DJ, you become a bit stiff as well. So yeah, I remember just one event, but the rest of the events, even then, at that event, people were still excited to see to see, I'm dancing to a song that this guy has just put together. And it is, the difficulty is, my mind has to deal with a lot of things at the time. One, I have to read the crowd. Just like as a DJ, you have to read the crowd. Just know, okay, I know, I plan to play this song. Now I need to change. I think the crowd will respond better to something like that. So I have to read the crowd. I have to deal with the idea that is playing at that time because I arrange live. I don't have a song where the kick is cut already, and the vocals, they take out the vocals, bring back the vocal. I have to do it there. I have to do it there. I have to cut the bass. I have to cut the kick. I have to do an arrangement so it sounds like a recorded song, so it sounds more enjoyable. So it doesn't just go and on and on and on. Because if I lift my hands, obviously nothing happens. You see, it just be, So I have to deal with I have to deal with the crowd. I have to deal with the idea that is playing at that time. I have to now think about what's the next idea. What do I play next? You see, what do I play next? And most of the times, whatever I'm doing at that time inspires me too, because I can easily say, here are the chords they are playing. I cut the bass and I just loop the chords. Instead of going wang, wang, they go wang, wang, because I just loop the chords on the sampler. The chords go wang. It's a new song, but I didn't play anything. So that inspiration, that creativity, when it kicks in, it's a new song. I put the bass and then I fade it out, could go to a new song like that. So fortunately, my setup gives me endless possibilities, man. I mean, the only limiting factor is the power of my computer. That's all.
Yeah.
The rest, but at the same time, just because I have a lot of possibilities does not mean I have to go crazy. I keep it simple so that people can follow what I'm doing and I can follow what I'm doing. You see, I try and keep it simple but musical, simple but sounds strong, especially, it's dance music. Sounds strong and it comes out. So I try and achieve that.
Man, it's such a powerful thing that you do because, artists just generally, some artists will have a writer's block for months where they cannot even compose anything, or even years to a certain extent, where anything that they feel, everything that they compose is not coming through. But to put yourself in a position where you have to deliver, like it's not even about, you don't have the comfort of saying, okay, I've got a writer's block, let me just leave. The gig is there. Like if a song has to happen,
Yes.
and it must happen. It's such a
It must
powerful.
come.
It must come, bruh. Like otherwise, like I mean, you know what I mean. So I think you need to have a certain level of mindset to achieve that. Also some kind of like I was speaking to Nduduzo Makatino on Monday, and we were talking about
Yes.
he spoke
Yes.
about forgiveness. That as a performer, as a pianist,
Mm.
sometimes you play the wrong note, because for various reasons, but or the wrong chord, and it
Mm.
kind of it might throw people off the band. It might throw the band off, but you need to find
Yes.
a
Yes.
way of forgiving yourself. So in your case,
Mm.
if you find yourself composing something on the spot that's not necessarily people are not really vibing with, it's like okay we see, but this one is not, then you need to find ways of you need to find ways of
Yes.
coming back, and I think that's an important thing. That's most important, because now you can come back from what seemingly did not resonate with everyone else. But I want to
Yeah.
ask you about equipment. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. I wanted just to touch on that one. So yeah, that's a very important one, because if I think the key thing there on that point is no is to know it's getting personal with my workflow. You see, I get personal with my workflow so that I know, okay, if I come up with this idea and you look and it's not hitting hard, the advantage is I don't have to think about which song to mix, and
Yeah.
the advantage is I can just add one or two things. Okay, I still look. Okay, let me just add one or two things that will drive the beat. Oh man, I've seen it happen. The beat starts, and like, okay, I need these people. They need some drive here. Add one or two things that drive the beat, and you see things changing. You see things changing, and not to panic, because once you know your workflow, you won't panic. Know your workflow, you know where to go, you won't panic. Not to panic, and just to think and say, what do I need? Okay, this idea has been playing for 2-3 minutes. I wanted it longer, but now I'm transforming it into something else. Fortunately, especially when you're doing live vocal remix, you want it to sound like people can say, oh, this guy made this remix here. You see, but anything can go wrong. You can load the vocals and then they don't go. Anything can go wrong. But how do you come out of that? You need to know your workflow. You need to if you know your workflow, you know what you're doing. That hardly happens, but if it happens, I agree with you. Move on. Forgive yourself. Move on. And if you know your workflow, no one will notice. No one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, no one will notice.
Yeah,
So it's an interesting, at the same time, very technical.
It's kind of like how DJs would, if you play a set and in the middle of your set you felt like, ish, those two songs did not really, vibe with the entire set, but nobody noticed. Like people were like, hey man, you played a super set, you know what I mean? I think it's just like
exactly.
It's a nature of artists, the thing that we have within us, where we know how best we can be. So when we're not always achieving that best that we know we can get to, we kind of feel like, I let myself down. And people hardly care about those things, If the kick is
you find that people are having the time of their lives.
If a kick is 1 dB louder, people don't give a damn, like the song is good, that's it. I want to get into your equipment, the equipment that you use for your live stuff. What are some of the things that you have there? Because I see you connect a lot of stuff. I was connecting stuff with you last week. I'm like, hey, this guy is connecting so much. What do you have there?
I decided when I started. Let me just maybe some background how you know, so that when I started, I, I was like, I need to build this thing because I did a live performance way before that. It was nice, but it was not where I wanted it to be. Technically, and also it was not as integrated, and I didn't have as many options. One, I wanted people to be convinced that I am doing it right there. That was the first thing. If I can't convince people that what you had when I went bang, what you had now, I did it there, then it doesn't serve the purpose. That was number one. Number two, I wanted people to actually see that besides playing the drum machines or the keys, the guy has actually cut the kick. And I saw him, he cut the kick. It's cut, the kick is gone now. Yeah. You see, he cut the kick is gone, and I saw him, he did it. I see him doing something, I can hear the effect, and then he brings the kick back. You see what I mean? I wanted people, so I wanted a setup that will enhance my performance, and also will also, your body movement. Body movements, your gesture. I think that's the word that we always use. Yeah. Your gesture says a lot. So I wanted that connection between my setup and my body language. That's what I wanted. So I was like, to get that, to achieve that, I need something that will, where I can play, whether it's drums or not just like play the drums, like play the percussion. You can hear it, play the percussion. But I knew when it comes to drum machines, that means I have to spend time practicing. You see, that introduces another thing. So I've got, and I also wanted a setup where I can sample anything at any time. I played in Kimberley. I think I posted about it. There were two girls standing in front of me. They were like crazy. But they didn't know I put the mic there. I sampled them. I put them in a song. You see what I mean? I put them in a song. They had it later. I don't know if they ever heard it or after I mentioned. And when I mentioned, I saw one commented, they were like, oh, so that was us. You see what I mean? Yeah. So it gives me, I wanted a setup that gives me more options, more possibilities. So it's drum machines. Ableton Live, the name Live says it all. Ableton Live. I don't think there's any software that is built for live like Ableton, but in my view, so I use Ableton.
Amen. Your internet is showing us flames now. We're gonna wait for you to come back.
With my machine and it in such a way that going out to the
it cut a bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, it's fine now. So stop what you say. You use Ableton and then you were getting into machine.
Yes, Ableton, and I combine it with other. And also the integration, I wanted it to be in such a way that I don't bother any sound engineer or anyone dealing with the sound at an event. The only thing they see it's one output, just like when you connect the CDJ. That's it. That's how I've connected it. So I went for drum machine. A drum machine helps me express myself better because I can play the drums, I can play the percussions, I can express myself better, and I've bought samplers. So those bought samplers, they help me. I can route from Ableton, I can route different channels to them. So when I put an effect, I don't put an effect on the entire song. When in the studio, you don't put an effect on the entire song. So it must sound like a proper song, done, a recorded song. So let's say I want to loop the vocals only and leave the bass and the drums playing. I can do that because I wrote them, the outputs from the software, they come separately. You see, so I wrote different channels to the outboard samplers and effects. I've got also onboard effects that I've incorporated so that I can tweak on my controllers. You see, so I use a couple of controllers, about 3 controllers at a time, so I can tweak them, to create. So the combination of the onboard effect and the outboard effect, you can just imagine. I'm playing I put a reverb on the drums, right? And on that reverb, when it comes out, I put a filter on the same. Can you imagine what comes out? It just does something that's magical to me. I put an effect, and then when it comes out, I put a different effect. So also what it does for me is I use less CPU because I don't have to load a lot of effects on the software. So I use less CPU. It's always balanced. I know I can perform for 4 hours. I mean, I performed in Rosebank for almost 3 hours. Yes, I nearly collapsed after that. I was finished. I was finished. But I know I can go on and on and on because I've managed to learn how to optimize the system. So I've got on the outboard, I've got about 16 effects that I run. I just choose what I want to do. I just choose which one I want to. Do I want to put a delay on the beat? Do I want to filter the beat? Do I want to put a reverb on the other side? Do I want to put a delay on the vocals? Do I want to put a reverb? Whatever it is. So I set my effects. So I know them. Channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the outboard samplers and effect. These are my effects. On the right side, these are my effects. You see me when I'm playing, I'm going a lot like this.
Yeah.
So I choose different effects so that if I loop the drum for, let's say, for 30 seconds, I put the reverb on the vocals, it creates something else. If I loop the vocals and put the reverb on the other instrument, it creates something else. So for me, it's about creating an atmosphere that will inspire me, an atmosphere that will help people enjoy what I'm doing. So yeah, it's drum machines, it's Ableton, it's outboard samplers, and of course, I needed a synth, that will carry everything, in terms of sound, in terms of how I would like to build the atmosphere. And I thought the synth that I got gives me more opportunities because it's got also effects. So I can put effects. I can put effects on the I can filter the sound before I record it. Even when I perform, I can filter the sound and create an atmosphere while the song is playing. I just create my own atmosphere while I filter the sound. I can create a note out of the filters, without playing anything, holding a chord, one chord. I can I can make it musical, by filtering and changing the resonance and all that. So yeah, it's a setup that I think it will be with me for a very long time. And I keep changing the workflow a bit just to inspire myself, route things differently to inspire myself. So yeah, as a setup that I think I'm still enjoying very much.
Bruh, I think you do need to keep going with that because for me that's where I see the future of DJing and performing. It's really there, and I mean, how many more DJs can we have? So like in the future, the way I see it is that if it's either you're gonna have to be a really really excellent DJ for you to be different and set yourself apart from everyone else, or you would need to have some form of live element to what you do, to kind of make the performance different, because times will come where we are just sick and tired of seeing the damn same thing over and over again. So I think it's very important, like for and the other reason why I asked you about the equipment is so that you could also inspire other people who might be like, maybe I should actually be trying something like this. I want to ask you.
Just on that point.
Yes.
Where you mentioned about, I DJed for a long time. Those turntables back in the days. Like I said, I had the turntables in my house, in my room. I would practice anytime. And when on my shows, because I had a show on Tuesday on radio, which was a good slot because it was 8 to 10 or something, somewhere there. I don't know. It was a good slot for house. And I used to do residence on the afternoon drive shows, one of the afternoon drive shows. So I had the turntables in the studio. I had the turntables at home. So, and I would invite DJs to my shows. Some DJs could scratch, and I started, picking up. So when I moved more into production, on that point where you're saying about moving to other things, I was like, I've produced songs, I've released. I, I need I need to find an opportunity to play my music or to present the music to the people without having to wait for DJs to buy my music and play. You see. So going back to DJing, I thought about it very hard. You see, I thought about it very hard, and then I realized, no, I left DJing for a reason. I need something it will put a bit of a twist into the whole thing. So I'm still hoping that more and more people will follow, and then we can build this thing. Remember, it's not a substitute. People must just remember that. Yeah. It's something that must complement.
Yes.
So when I'm booked with you, LSG, we complement each other.
Yeah.
Didn't I take over from you last time in the home?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. You see what I mean? That's the compliment I'm talking about. It complements if we perform house live with the drums, it's a live band. It does not mean it's a substitute for jazz. No, it means we can be booked together and we complement each other. So that's what it means. It means now I can take over from a DJ, and people will think, oh, the DJ is still playing, but the difference is when they look, there's a performance. It's a live performance. You see, so people must not look at it as a substitute. It's something that it must complement what is currently happening, but at the same time, it would be nice to have more people joining in. So yeah.
Yeah, man. And I want to ask you though, with regards to that, the complementing of the music. When you get to gigs, and
yeah.
I've seen this with performances. Like I would be traveling maybe with Monique Bingham or with Ayanda Gia,
yes.
and they are booked
yes.
or we are booked at the same place, and they need to sing. And usually, people don't take the tech rider so seriously. Like you ask for a microphone, a monitoring system, and you get there's no monitoring system, the microphone doesn't work, or whatever the case may be. For most gigs, how do you ensure that at least your space, because you use a lot of equipment, like have you ever had moments where your stuff can't fit or anything like that?
You ask what you mentioned now is very important, and I'm glad you brought it up. Very, very important. It's a struggle, but things are getting better. Technical riders, you're right. People who are in charge of the bookings, who are in charge at whatever outlet or venue, they don't always take the technical rider seriously. The booking contract includes the technical rider. It says, this is my tech rider. So now I have to put in my booking contract that if these things are not in place, I may not perform. It has to get to that because people don't take it seriously. So my booking contract says, this is my tech rider. And it's not big. I've made it compact so that it's easy to understand. Space is gold. You want to see me perform? Give me space. And I don't need a lot of space because I have managed to optimize how I use the space. I've managed to put things together around me because I also need that. I don't want to I play the keyboard which is on my side because I lose contact with the people. I want, when I'm playing the keys, I'm still facing the people. So everything is right in front of me. So I'm in contact with the audience all the times. I don't have a keyboard sitting next to me. I'm in contact with the people. Just like now I'm looking at you. The keyboard is here. I can play my drum machines. Everything is in front of me, which means I use less space. So I don't need a lot of space. But here's the thing: you get there. There's only this tiny table with just CDJs. Bruh, you booked me. You booked me 2 months in advance. You had my technical rider. My technical rider says 2 meter by 1. It's very specific. 2 meter by 1 minimum. You give me 2 meters, then I know I'm sorted. Because that's all I need. You see what I mean? You get there. I have, and I do it, and I tell them, guys, I do it simply because I want the best for your venue. I want the best for my brand. I want the best for the people. Otherwise, I wouldn't be helping you set up the table. That's not my job. You see. Fortunately, there's a guy. His name is Theo. I travel with him a lot. He knows now. He will tell me, go sit down, relax. Am I still there?
Yeah, no, I still.
Am I still okay?
Yeah, you're okay now.
Yeah, they will tell me, go sit down, relax, because he knows now what I need. You see, but here's the thing: technical rider, guys, is important. When things open, we want things to open again. Let's respect the technical rider, because that's what helps the artist deliver the best they can. When they know that they're being taken care of, feed them as well. Give them food before. Feed them, give them food, give them water, give them the drinks they want to drink. They feel more comfortable. It is important. Those little things will make an artist deliver the best you can ever imagine. So technical rider is important. Space for me is important. I don't bother people with plugs and everything. All I need is one socket. Give me one socket. I always tell them, one socket, I plug everything. You don't have to bring multiple plugs for me. I have all that. I'm sorted. Just give me one plug and one input on the CDJ. That's it. Space, one socket for the power, one output, one channel on the CDJs. That's it. So let's respect the technical rider, even for the DJs. When a DJ says this is what they need, please strive to give them what they need. When a live performer says this is what I need, strive to give them what they need. It is very important.
And it's so important, man. I think for DJs, for me, like when you go to a gig and get the CDJ 350, fine. Like I will play, like I will play, but my playing. Like when people listen to my mixes and they're like, man, hey, the mixes are out there via, your timing. Like I know how I time my mixes. I work on that, and the way I do it is because I practice, and I've got I'm using these XDJ 1000s right now. That's what I practice on. So, at least if you give me something similar, at 350 the screen is so small. I can't do other things that I want to do, I'll play a set, I'll play the best of my ability. Not to say that I'm going to mess up, but it won't be the best performance that you would get from me, because I know what I can do with better equipment. Anyway, man, time is running out for us. I want to ask you about your choir days, because you used to be part of a choir. What was happening there? And what kind of choirs? Because now, was it just like boys choirs, Salona Zako Giani, and performing at churches? Or was it like more classical stuff where you sing like Western music? What was it?
It was the choirs I used to join in every grade. I was in a choir. I don't remember a grade where I was never in a choir. Every grade I was in a choir, and I remember one day, 30 minutes before the competition, before we went on stage, I was pulled out because I was wearing the wrong shoes. See, I practiced. I was so ahead, but I knew that time when I was practicing, I used to go for these choirs. It has built me. You see, it has built me. So every grade, I don't remember a grade where I was not in a choir. So I would join the choirs in school. would sing. They would teach us songs. Competitions come, we will come third, or we don't win anything at all. Sometimes we'll come first. But I enjoyed music so much that it didn't matter to me whether 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 I could sing properly or not.
Mm.
As a choir, yes, sometimes it's hidden. Some people might not hear. But I used to do a lot of tenor, and then my voice developed a little bit, and I started doing baritone. You see, even in varsity, even today, when I tell people I used to play drums, people are like, huh? Used to play drums. I used to play drums, and I used to play drums. Like I played drums for a good number of years. Drums like drums. I used to play drums, and I used to play percussion. So I think you can see the bongos I bought. Can you see them there?
Yeah.
There, I bought those bongos when I was a percussionist. I bought them when I was a percussionist. So I did quite a lot of things, and I believe today I'm using those things and they are helping me. So yeah. So choirs, hey, it was this thing. It was, I'm walking in the street. Oh, it's like that's me.
Yeah.
And also my mother used to call me Gumch, Gumch, Gumch. She used to call me that. She would be like, where is Gumcha, Gumcha? Because I used to do a lot of that beatbox when I'm in the shower.
Yeah.
Alone, I'll be doing those things. And my kids are doing those things now.
Hmm.
They're doing those things now. Yes, they are learning to play drum machines, maybe that's why. But I do them a lot, and they've picked it up. You'll find them doing it in their rooms. So my mother used to call me Tumchak, because I used to do that, like a lot of beatboxing, Tumchak,
Yeah.
alone when I'm walking, and so that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, music has been a part of me for many years.
Man,
So yeah,
I
man.
was a choir boy myself, man. Like I used to
Yeah.
sing in a lot of choirs, high school, but also even after outside house high school, while I was still in high school, I used to sing for a
Yeah.
community choir, and we would do these
Yes.
competitions, sing like
Mm.
classical music, and that is kind of my formal education training. That's where it really
Mm.
began,
Mm.
because that's where you learn about scales. That's where you learn about
Yes.
harmonies, especially harmonies.
Exact.
When you're in a choir
Exact.
setting, harmonies are the thing. So when I started recording music, and I would be in studio with Ayanda Gia or whoever I would be recording, I'm the person who would be, man, let's do this harmony. Let's do this harmony. Let's try this.
Yes.
So it gives you that insight. And
Mm.
yeah, man, like one of the people who was part of your choir members sent me a voice note here, which I'm gonna play in closing. It's a long voice note, so guys, please, I apologize because I'm gonna cut it. It's too long. Trev, he sent this other long voice note, but I just wanna play. I wanna play most of it, and then we'll carry on. We'll close the conversation.
Sure.
Ep80, Lisijo, what's up, bro? This is Trev the Japanese. Wow, man, you've got a great brother there, brother NINI Malukes, my homie. We come from the same hood, Guyane. A lot to say about him in this short space of time. You actually caught me off guard, man. A lot to say in 3 minutes. I'll probably give you a broken history of us. Uh, in I think in 92 we went to a high school in Gianni. I think what was it called, Retabile. And at that point, if I remember correctly, we used to compete a lot in academics, and also on track. We used to sprint. We used to sprint a lot. I mean, I remember at some point I topped that school. I think I don't know, I found the sixth, and he was one of the top science students. On track, we used to sprint, do relay racing. 100 meters, 200 meters. Uh, we separated, I think it was around 93, if not 94, where he went to Guyana High and started uh, science studies. and I decided to teach science and went for commercial subjects. But we still kept contact. I would visit him a lot at his school. We played with his friends chess here and there. He's been he's been a funky guy for some time. And oh, by the way, he was the craziest dancer when we used to have some when we used to have some what was this back then? I think some what beauty contests. He would compete at those, and also dance, and also he would partake in a whole lot of things. I mean, he was active. He was active socially, and it's no surprise that now you see him as this active person, funny as hell. Ethics on point. I mean, he's one cool guy, heavily focused, heavily focused. Also, I mean, when yeah, I just love that we still kept in contact. Though I've missed a couple of things on his side, a couple of key moments and key dates. I was bummed when I missed his wedding. Because with me and my travels and my funny dates and my funny unavailabilities, I missed quite a number of things. But we've never lost contact, and he's always, I mean, been open minded about why one has not been able to do certain things. Also, back in 1997, when he went to UCT to pursue his studies. I mean, he would come back. One of the few guys I know that bought a turntable, nice speakers. I can't even remember the name of. It probably was a B&W speaker, if I remember, and I think he still has it now. One good, powerful speaker there. I mean, he will show you a few tricks. I mean, I learned a few things from him. I mean, he's been a musical person for a while now. I mean, it's no surprise that he's still now into is now mostly into native instruments, and he's starting to blow up. And I mean, big love to him. I'm also happy because people are starting to recognize. I mean, we knocked a few doors in the early mid 2000, or when early 2000, when uh, I also remember when we recorded a video of a song. I think it was testing 1 2 3 or testing 1 2. There was a point where he recorded an album, One Blazing Display. I hope he still does remember that. None of the record labels were even keen to listen to any of that material. I have it somewhere. Maybe one day he must just let you listen to that stuff, or maybe he must bring it out, because I think he has shelved that stuff, and probably has no confidence to put it out because he thinks maybe it was not good enough. And I still feel stuff that someone should have just listened. They're only starting to pay attention now because hopefully maybe probably because of the native instrument that fascinates them. But he's been there. He's been there. He plays vinyl as well. He might just behave like he doesn't know how to. He does. He does know how to DJ. He's a great as well. Was one of the great DJs back then. Mixing, selection, good. Very good guy that you have there. Ethical as well. Especially now, you need very ethical people in our industry, which actually lacks that quality at the moment. I mean, thank you for hosting him. Although you caught me off guard, I don't know how to talk. Thanks again, man. A big love to him. Branini, we will catch up soon.
Nah, Dimanari doesn't he doesn't know how to talk, but they hosted a whole show there called FM. I mean, what rubbish is that? Anyway, bruh, like yeah, man. I don't know if you have anything to add on to that voice note by Trev or to respond to.
Yeah. Hey, bro. Thanks, man. It's also a surprise. I'm also that's a good surprise there. Hey, Japan, Scotch. Thanks, man. Yeah. We like you said, everything you said. It's been that's the road that we travel, and we forgot to mention at my 21st. We did a boys to men kind of item. We used to, items back in the day, items. So it was like four guys. He did baraton. There was a guy who did soprano, tenor, and I did lead, kind of. Post a picture sometime this week so that. Are you good? Are you?
Yeah, we're good, man. I missed that picture because I wanted to get
everything is said.
Yeah, I wanted to get that picture of yours because I saw the picture of when you guys were the Guyani boys to men. I want to ask you though, like, there's something that you noted earlier in our conversation, and that is making music or being with a partner who knows and understands what it is that you do. You know, like in your case, your wife is a musician too. You know, she's got a professional career, but she's also a musician. And I mean, you released a song and she wrote "Won't Forget You." I'm like, this guy is so lucky. His wife is singing on his song, singing a song about him. I'm like, yeah, how lucky can a guy get? But really, just on a more serious note, I think it's something that is so understated that when you are with someone that doesn't only support you but really understands what it is that you do, and it can be such a beautiful thing to have. I want you to have, like, what are your thoughts with that regard?
It is key. It is very important because I'll just a bit of background there. Why, when we met, I walked into a hall. There was this hall at UCT. There was a grand piano. I'm hearing this person is playing Alicia Keys. She was playing and singing one of Alicia Keys' songs. I walked in and found, oh, there's this small girl. She is playing Alicia Keys on piano. And I'm standing there and she continues to play. And then that's where we got to know each other. And at some point, we played in the same band at church. I played drums, she was playing keyboard, she was playing the piano. You see what I mean? So, and then it went on, we got to know each other. And I remember one day, we were sitting outside. She was like, I was in varsity. She was like, what's, tell me one of your biggest dreams. I said, one of my biggest dreams is to own a recording studio and a label. But I want to own a studio first so that I can be able to do my work. So she said it years later that she said to me, that was the day I fell in love with you even more, because I realized that your dream, music, has connected us, you see. And now we got married, we live together, you know, and it did not stop there. So, you know, to a point where your spouse brings tea, she brings food when you're in the city. She gives you food, she brings in food so that you can stay there and continue. So she does not disturb your ideas. You see what I mean? And I still make time to spend, we still make time to spend together. You see? So it is very important that I feel very, very fortunate, because even when, just before Won't Forget You, you know, some people know what happened. I mean, she was heavily pregnant. My mother and my nephew died in an accident 3 days before my daughter was born. My very first daughter. I was not there. I saw her after 2 weeks because I had to prepare for my mother's funeral. After that, I had to wait for another week to bury my nephew because we separated the funerals because my nephew was a minor. He was 13 years. You see, coming back, I'm introduced to this little girl I have never seen. I'm still dry. I'm still trying to absorb everything. You know, I remember when she told me her water broke. It was 2 days before my mother's funeral. She told me my water broke. I just went down. I just went down. And that was before my brother was killed. You see, my brother was killed. He was buried in a shallow grave somewhere in Pulukwani. Fortunately, we searched and we found him after 4 days. You see, going through those pains, you have a family, you have music, you have a career on the other side. You see what I mean? When that happened, came back. Now I was introduced to my daughter. Fortunately, my mother-in-law was there. Started spending time with my daughter. I started connecting with her. I started having feelings now. The feelings started coming. And now I was like, yeah, now I have a daughter. You know, I'm not dry anymore because the situation was tense, you know. Then now we sat down. Here's a song. I made a song. What can we do with this song? Then we started writing Won't Forget You. You see, which was based on what was happening at the time. You see what I mean? So it was a very painful moment, but because I had someone who understands that I can also say, we can also talk through music. You see, we can also share our feelings through music. Let's write Won't Forget You. You see, and then we wrote the song, put it together, and for me, that was like, thank you for all this support. You just gave birth. I was not there. You were alone. But we managed to put this thing together so nicely. So it is very important when you have someone who understands, because once I have that support here, I know I can do a lot of things, you know. So yeah, it is very important. For me, I feel very fortunate that, you know, I have someone who understands who understands the dream, who understands the goal, who understands that it takes time, who understands that there's feelings attached to the whole thing. And she is always the first person to hear a track. You see what I mean? And fortunately, I think we were talking last time.
Hey man, sorry, you're gonna have to repeat that because the internet went a bit.
Somewhere maybe somewhere outside the studio. She's able to pick up an off note and she'll come. No, I'm hearing something is off.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. No, okay. I was saying, where was I?
No.
Especially for me, that
yes.
She's also a musician. She's always the first person who. Are you okay? Is that good?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, always the first person who comes and say, can you please come listen to my song? I've got new tracks. Can you come listen to them? Can you come? What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you think about my selection? What do you think about that? You know, so it is important. Very, very, very important. And I think same goes for you, because she's also a selector as well. You know, so it adds a lot of value to it. You know?
Definitely does, man. Like with my case as well, it's the thing I was telling you. The only thing we fight about is really who's gonna take which songs onto the next mixtape. Because she's got a mixed podcast.
Yeah.
I've got a mixed podcast too. So it's always a fight because we play the same music, you know, like, no, I want this song. No, it's my song, you know. So, but just having somebody who understands what you do, who can relate, it's a big thing for me, you know, and I'm so grateful for that.
Important.
I mean, for this show too, because what she does for the show, you know, she's the one who does the graphics, she does the research, and to have somebody like that who's with you in your journey, in your dreams, it's a powerful thing, man. Bro, I think let me do this. My light is acting up. Anyway, I think we can close it here, Nini, bro. Like the internet is acting up, and we've been talking for an hour and a half. But I think we said enough. I'm firstly grateful that you spent this time and you took this time to spend and share your story, share your knowledge. So thank you for that, bro.
Thanks, my brother. Thanks for inviting me, man. I really appreciate it. And to everyone, hang in there. This thing is gonna be over. It may not be as it was, but let's adjust to the new normal. Let's make the most out of it, and let's be grateful for what we have.
Yeah, man. And also the thing I forgot to say to you, thank you so much for sharing the story of your family members, so your mother and your brother and your nephew. You know, it's such a I'm sure it was such a very difficult moment for you, and you know, I just want to thank you for sharing those, because when we share those kind of difficult moments with other people, someone could be going through exactly the same thing that you went through right now. They could be going through that, and when they hear and they see that you came out of it, it can be so inspirational to them. So thank you for that, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And guys, Nini has a vinyl out. Won't Forget You, the song that he was talking about featuring Sonia. You can go to his website. If you search NINI MALUKS, it will take you to his website, and you can.
I don't know if they can see it.
Yeah, I put it up there. Oh yeah, you've got it on. Okay, say something.
Yeah, there. It's a vinyl.
Yeah.
Great artwork, beautifully done. You know, so yeah. Please support the release. There's also something great coming. So complete the story by getting this one. You know, so yeah. Please support. If you go to my timeline, you'll see how you can order your copy. So yeah.
For sure, yeah. That's
thanks, brother.
Won't Forget You featuring Sonia, and I think it has Jazz Mellows in there as well. That super song that you did together. But yeah, people should go out and check it out. And guys, let's remember to stay creative. Thank you so much for watching. Please tag somebody in the comment section who might enjoy the conversation or who might learn from the conversation. And lastly, please share the video so more people can see the video. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's remember to stay creative. Peace out.